Why do you like poker?
I have been playing poker for close to 4 years. I started playing poker when I was about 16 years old. It was kind of like an escape. I was going through a pretty tough time. My girlfriend had just broken up with me and I had absolutely nothing to do, and fell my way into poker. Watched it on TV. My grandfather had always kind of played poker with me, and I called onto it. I found out that I was a lot better than everybody that I was playing with just for fun. We were playing for like $5 back then, and made a lot of money just playing for $5 at a time. And I wanted to get better at it. Kind of latched onto it and learned some more stuff. I started reading books and stuff. And the reason I like poker is it's always a challenge. There's always a challenge, and there's nothing else that you can do where the amount of money you make is like dependent on how good you are at a certain time. If you kind of understand what I'm saying. Like if I play poker really well on a given night, I could potentially make a lot of money. Whereas like if I go to a 9-to-5 job, I could work awesome that day and then just come to work and not care one day, and I'm going to make the same amount of money. Whereas if I go to a poker table, I'm really focused, I can make a lot. Go to a poker table and I'm kind of like whatever about it, I could lose a lot. So it's always a challenge, and there's always people to play against, and it's something that I'm going to be playing for the rest of my life.
Talk about online poker. Do you play? How much do you play?
I actually started off playing online poker when I was about 15 or so. I started fooling around with it. Before I actually caught on to poker, I was kind of dabbling in online poker, just free online poker, and anybody can do that. I mean, it's not like it's really tough to do. You just sign your name and you're playing. They give you free chips. And I was killing at that, and I felt really cool about myself. And after I'd kind of caught on to poker and I've been playing for a few years, I realized that people were playing online poker as a job. And that really caught my attention, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try that, because those guys can't be that much better than me. And so I tricked my dad into giving me about $400 for a summer to let me try and do that as a job, and it did not turn out well at all. I actually, instead of making money, I figured maybe I could make, I wasn't even like aspirations of winning $100,000. I just wanted to grind out about $1,000 maybe, and just have like a decent part-time summer job, and it went south in a hurry. I dropped about $250, and that's when I swore off playing online poker for money, because I found out it's a totally different game than playing live poker. For some strange reason, that's just how it is, and how it seems to be for me.
Talk about playing in real life, going to casinos, playing cash tables at your house, those things.
Let's see. First cash games I ever started playing in was way back when. It was just for friends, for nickels and dimes. I remember the very first cash game of poker I ever bought into was at my house. My parents had gotten me a poker set for fun for my birthday, I guess because they couldn't think of anything else, because they saw me watching poker on TV and figured I might be into it. And I invited some people over. We bought in for about $5 a piece, and I wound up with every dollar on the table. And that was my first experience in a cash game, and ever since then I've always kind of been the one to get the game together, to bring everybody together. Hey, you want to play? Hey, you want to play? Hey, you want to play? Get on the phone and call everybody and bring everybody together to play. But I've always had pretty good success in live poker. I always seem to be about a step ahead of everybody that I'm playing with. I take it seriously, and I try to get better. It's fun. It's not like a job where I'm studying and I'm like, oh, I got to get better at this. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable because it's immediate results. If you learn something or you see something about a guy that could help you maybe exploit a weakness for this guy, it's immediate, and you're going to make money on it, and it's fun. It's fun. When I sit down at a cash table with a bunch of friends of mine, my thinking is not, I'm going to win all that person's money in like a cutthroat sort of way. It's, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy myself. And because maybe because I've approached this game in a manner that would, like, in a professional way, that like, I want to get better at this, I want to win money at this, I'm going to make more than a guy that's coming in here just like throwing around money. But I'm not sitting down going, I want all that guy's money, I want all that guy's money. It's purely fun, and if I come out ahead, that's fine. If I come out down, that's fine. I never want to be playing for stakes so high that it would hurt me if I lose, like financially. I really want to keep it just for fun.
But you have played the casino.
Right. 20 years old, and I've been to a casino more than most human beings. Just, it's really sad how terrible the security is in a casino. I have been carded in a casino twice in my entire life. Las Vegas and Tunica. My first experience in a casino, I was actually in Las Vegas, and I was scared to death because I was 19 years old walking in a casino, and I was like, oh, they're gonna immediately know I'm 19. And I walked up to the poker room guy at Binion's Horseshoe downtown Vegas, and I told the guy, because I'm kind of big into, first of all, I'm kind of big into poker history, and I delved into that, and that's where they held the World Series of Poker for the longest time. So this was a big deal to me to be in Binion's. And I walked up to the guy that was in charge of putting you in cash games, and I was so scared. I remember just taking a deep breath before I said anything to him, and I went, it's my first time in a casino. What do I need to do? And the guy doesn't even ask me for my ID. He goes, oh, well, just get some chips over there, and you want to play in this game over here. It's a low-stake game. And sat me right down. It was about a $60 buy-in game, which was more than I've ever played for in my life at the time. And I proceeded to drop about $80, like this fast. It scared me to death. And I remember later that night, my dad and I got back to the hotel room. He's like, you got carved up, didn't you? I knew you couldn't play. I knew you couldn't do anything. And I told my dad, I was like, well, we were staying at Harrah's. I said, I'll go downstairs, because he'd given me a little money. He'd given me about $200 or $300. And said, whatever, if you lose it, I don't care. We're on a trip. And I went, well, look, I'm just going to take this and see how I do. And I went downstairs and I played a 3-6 limit, which is really about the lowest limit game in any casino. And to me, it was a $100 buy-in, and I felt like I was risking my life. And I actually won about $300-something, which is insane at that limit. And I felt like the king of the world, and that I could beat anything. And wound up the entire trip. I went to Binion's again, and finished second in a tournament for about $1,100. And that was just, head got about this big. And I figured, oh, well, I'll go to Tunica. And there's been good times in Tunica, and there's been bad times in Tunica. But for the most part, I do pretty well.
What's the most you've won in one day?
The most I've won in one day at a casino, I guess it would have to be in that tournament at Binion's, because earlier that day I went to Caesar's Palace and I cashed for about $200, and then I went straight over to Binion's Horseshoe and finished second in that tournament for $1,100. So I guess it was $1,300 in that day. And then just playing cash games, I guess the most I've cashed is probably about $400 or $500 in one day.
What's the worst you've done?
Oh, the worst I've done, that's easy. It was just one night. I was over in Tunica. I went by myself, which is dumb to do. You should always bring a friend if you're going gambling, because they can, whether they're having a good night or a bad night, they're going to level with you and say, you don't need to do this or you need to do this. I was by myself. I was playing, and I was already down a little bit of money. I was down about $100. I had $500 on me. And a game opened up in the corner. It was a game that I never played. It was a 10-20 game. And it was some of the same people that I'd been playing with and losing to there. But they really weren't any good. And I was like, well, I'll just beat that game. It's a higher limit, so what? I'll beat it and get all my money back plus some. So I sat down at a 10-20 game with about $400. And usually you want to bring about $400 or $500 there. But really you want some in your pocket in case you do go broke. And I lost all that in about an hour. And got back home, and I really thought about stopping playing for a long time. And because I'd always heard, people have bad nights and you go broke. But I felt like that night I couldn't control myself from playing in a game that I shouldn't be playing in the first place. And I felt like I had a problem. But, after looking in the mirror, it was just like, man, that was really terrible. But I remember getting back home that night and I threw up. I was so sick about losing that much money, and in retrospect, it was one bad night, and I hate the thought of it. And I guess that's one thing that anytime I want to play in a game that I know I have no business playing in because I don't have enough money to play in it, regardless of the player's skill, I always think back to that night.